We've been talking about funnels for a few weeks now, and if you know anything about funnels, you know that they don't work without some email follow-up. And if the idea of writing those follow-up emails puts you into a cold sweat or just stresses you out, maybe you struggle with writing sales emails that don't feel so salesy, then know that you are not alone. In fact, that is exactly why I invited my friend Nicole Kepic to the show today. Nicole is an expert copywriter. I guarantee you've read some of her words in some of my sales pages and some of my email copy here and there. Nicole's superpower is writing sales copy that feels like an invitation, not a sales pitch. So today we are diving into how to build trust with your audience, how to structure those tricky sales emails, and how to keep your emails conversational so you can make sales without feeling salesy. If you've been dreading writing those sales emails that go along with your new funnel, or you're just not sure where to start, you are going to love this episode. Are you a digital product or course creator selling on platforms like Teachers Pay Teachers, Etsy, or your own website? Ready to grow your business, but not into the kind of constant hustle that leads straight to burnout? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to The Savvy Seller. I'm Kristen Doyle, and I'm here to give you no fluff tools and strategies that move the needle for your business without burning you out in the process. Things like SEO, no stress marketing, email list building, automations, and so much more. Let's get started, y'all. Hey, Nicole, thank you so much for being here today to talk to us about some email sequences.
Hey, Kristen, thank you so much for having me.
I was so excited to ask you to come on specifically because I just love the way that you write all your emails, really, but especially sales emails, because it can feel so tricky to figure out how to sell in our emails without being pushy or sleazy or just feeling unnatural, feeling like it's not us. So I was really excited to ask you to come on specifically to talk about that because I know it's something that you are so great at doing and that I have learned so much from you about. So thank you for agreeing to come on and talk to us today.
No problem. This is such a fun topic because so many people are afraid of overselling or they don't sell at all. So it's like you have to help them with the happy medium.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like you're just so good at it. So much better than I am. So let's talk a little bit about where emails fall in this sales funnel series that we've been doing in the podcast. Of course, we've talked about creating landing pages to get people into your email list, creating that sales page and that checkout process. So the actual funnel itself to get people to a product to purchase. But those emails are such an important piece of this process. Can you talk a little bit about the role that they play?
Yeah, for sure. So really you're just staying top of mind. So your emails are going to drive people to your sales page, or in a case of the funnel like this, they're going to go to the sales page first and maybe they decide not to buy at that moment for whatever reason, the time isn't right. But then you want to still stay top of mind and keep sending those emails, kind of directing people to that page again. So they feel the urgency, they feel the excitement, they want to invest in you.
Yeah. And a lot of times, especially if we're running ads to the freebie or to a low ticket offer, a lot of times people will look at it, but they're not ready to make a purchase from you yet because they don't know you. They don't trust you yet. And so that email sequence is really a good place to build that know, like, and trust factor that everybody talks about being so important in terms of getting people to actually be comfortable and willing to make a purchase from you.
100%. You're always going to have those silent lurkers. And I've been that person too, where I'll hang out on somebody's email list for a long time before buying. So you want to give everybody that warm welcome, whether they buy your tripwire or not. So say they've opted in for your freebie, they get the freebie, and then you offer them something small like a digital product or bundle collection. And it's a great no-brainer deal, but for whatever reason, they don't want to hop on it right away. Whether they buy it or not, you're still going to welcome them with a nice email sequence, a nurturing sequence, a sales sequence that speaks right to them.
When we do this, can you help us out with what kind of emails go into that welcome sequence? Because I know, at least for me, that is something I always struggle to figure out.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you were asking before how many emails should go into that sequence. There isn't, unless I've missed the memo, there isn't a magic number. I typically say between 4 to 6 emails. So it's not so few of emails that you've barely made an impression and not so many that it's like, whoa, we just met. Like, please back off a bit. So I usually say between 4 to 6 emails, and each email is going to have its own separate theme, like one main theme per email. So you're not blasting all the information in every email. And again, it's just too overwhelming. So yeah, I can go through each email if you want, just to bring some clarity to that.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Okay, we'll drill down there. So the first email is typically, if somebody has opted in for your freebie, your free guide, template, whatever it is, you're going to deliver on that promise. You're going to give them the link to that freebie so they can access it, the login information. And I would definitely say here, it's really important to do a few bullets, simple bullets of just reiterating why this freebie is so amazing. Because, I've done this before where I'll, opt in for a freebie. I'm really excited about it, but then life happens. I get busy and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll save this for another time. So if you just remind them why this freebie is so valuable, they'll be more likely to open it up right then and there. So do that. Another thing you should do in that first email is ask your readers a question. Get them to reply to that first email. It creates engagement, and don't ask me how this happens on the back end, but it makes sure that your emails are more likely to land in their primary inbox versus in the spam folders or junk folders. So that's what I'd like to do in the first email.
Yep. It definitely helps keep the email gods, so to speak, very happy with you if people are opening and replying and clicking on links. So if you can get them in that very first email, they're probably going to click a link because you're sending them the link to a freebie. If you can get them to do that and also reply, that can make a really big difference, and it can keep your emails in their inbox.
Yeah. And I would say don't ask something super serious or heavy where, they're going to reply and think, oh my gosh, she's going to email me back with this big sales pitch. Like, ask them something simple.
Mm-hmm.
Ask them what they do, because people love talking about themselves. So even something simple like that, like, hey, what kind of business do you run? Or tell me about your business. You'll probably get a reply. So that is the first email. Again, there's no hard and fast rule for these. Maybe in the second email, you could debunk a common misconception. Like, what do people commonly believe about your role or your industry? And you're going to debunk that, because this is a great way to establish your authority, to show you have an opinion on something. That goes for a lot too. So you're not sounding like everyone else.
Yeah.
So I would go that route for the second email.
Yeah. A lot of people are afraid to take a really strong stand on something. But I don't know about you. I feel like the times that I do take a stand on something, yeah, sure, someone is going to get turned off by it because they don't line up with my philosophy around that or whatever. But for the most part, people really lean in and they embrace it. I get a lot of good replies to emails like that because people like to see that you believe what they do, or that maybe you've challenged one of their beliefs and they agree with you. I feel like that creates a lot of engagement, and I don't know. I definitely haven't seen it cause me to lose subscribers because I took a stand. I think if anything, it has helped make my list even stronger.
For sure. Yeah. It just shows you have personality, you have opinions, and it doesn't have to be so polarizing that all of a sudden, like you said, like half your list is gone because you just went so far to the right. It can just be like a medium level comment or, debunking. Another thing you can do, the next email, by this point, I would probably introduce yourself further. In that first email I didn't mention, you should lightly introduce yourself. In this third email, you've already sent a couple emails. Now you can just go a bit deeper into who you are, what you do, how you serve people, why you're so passionate about it. But then, of course, tying it back to the readers, like, why does this matter to them? How are you going to help them? So it's about you, but it's about them too.
Yeah. It's like I always say about your about page. It's not about you. It's about how you're helping those people that are on your list, those people that are reading your content. Yeah.
Yes.
Always about how you solve problems for them and what you can do to help them.
For sure. They're always thinking, what's in it for me? How can you help me? Good point.
Always.
Next one, touch on a pain point, a common pain point, a universal pain point that like obviously you don't personally know everybody on your list. You probably don't at this point, but you know that this pain point is really common and will speak to a majority of your readers. So speak to a common pain point, offer a solution. You're not solving world peace here. Like, this is not a major thing solved in one email, but something that where they will walk away saying, okay, that was really helpful. I have a new approach to this, a new solution. Again, you're showing your expertise. And then in those last couple of emails, I'm not sure what number I'm at right now, but those last couple of emails.
We're about there. I think we're at 5 and 6
I think we're
now.
number 5 and 6. By this point, through the previous emails, you've lightly introduced your product, program, or service, because I do believe it's 100% okay to sell throughout the sequence. So you've lightly introduced your product or program or service, and maybe you've dropped a link saying, hey, if this intrigues you, check out my services page. So you've dropped those hints. And then in the last couple of emails, you're going to go into more detail about what you do and how you help people. And you're going to have a bit more urgency, whether you have a close cart date or not. You want to really amp up the urgency so that people are excited. They're excited to take that next step with you and really do the thing you want them to do.
Thank you for that. That was such a great overview of, what we can say in those very first emails welcoming people onto our list. And when we do that, we are setting ourselves up as experts. We're building some trust with our audience. And hopefully you're injecting enough of your personality too that you're getting them to like you and feel like they get to know you a little bit as a person.
Oh yeah. Personality is honestly the biggest thing. If I could leave you with one thing, please add personality to your copy, because, the tips, the facts, the figures, people can get those from Google. Just being honest here, people can go to Google right now and look up how to, write the best headline. Or they can read an email from me where I'm sharing that knowledge, but I'm also injecting stories or just, bits of me that keep people coming back for more because it gets them to smile or nod along or laugh or, just have that enjoyment factor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we really are living in a world where there's not much that we can't just find on Google somewhere if we search hard enough for it. But when we do that, we have to decide if we can trust those results. And sometimes we have to parse through a lot of things to figure out, to combine things together and find answers to our questions. And really the reason that we get on email lists or we buy products or courses or whatever from people is because we like the way they teach their topic or the way they talk about certain things, the way they create those products. That's why we buy from certain people. I mean, perfect example. Why do I buy your templates for emails? Because I love the way you write emails.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
They're fabulous. But I could chat GPT emails. They're not going to sound like me. And they're not going to sell the way I want to or welcome people to my list the way I want to. But when you find someone you resonate with, then it works so much better. It's so much easier to use their course or their templates or whatever it is, because you can relate to them as a person. You find some things you have in common, and then those things just start to feel a lot more natural. And it's so much easier to buy from that person too.
For sure. And I can personally say that I will often open emails from people sometimes where even if what they've said in the subject line doesn't really hit with what I need at the moment, I will still open their emails because I think, oh, I like this person's emails. I like her. I like the way she writes. So I know I'm not going to sign up for this summit right now, for example, but I just want to see how she presents this information.
Yeah. Or I'm just curious what she's up to right now. Because
Exactly.
I like this person and I want to know what they're doing. And maybe this isn't going to be for me, but I just want to know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's really where that personality comes into play and is so important.
For sure. For sure. Like I said, even if you're dispensing all the knowledge, the tips, the how-tos, you can still weave in that personality.
Yeah, always. So let's talk about the sales emails a little bit, because those I feel like are a lot harder for some of us to write than the ones where we are maybe debunking the myth or we're teaching something. A lot of us feel much more comfortable in that type of writing than we do in the sales writing. So let's talk about how to create some sales emails, how we can approach writing sales emails that feel genuine, that feel like us and don't feel pushy or sleazy. I know there's such a pushback against anything that feels like bro marketing. And But we can absolutely write sales emails that don't feel that way at all. And you are so great at that. Can you speak to how we can start to do that?
Yeah. Well, thank you again. I would say it really just comes down to your mindset in approaching it like an invitation. And that's all I do. I don't have the secret formula working in the background when I'm writing. It's really just approaching it like an invitation. I'm inviting my readers to take me up on this offer, whether it's to book a call with me or hire me, buy a digital product. It's really just saying, hey, I know that you have this problem. I can empathize with this problem. Here's a solution. Here's how I can help you. You are still the star of the show. I'm just here to help you. Here's what I have that can help you in this situation. And I provide the information. And then I speak to, of course, the benefits, what they're going to get when they invest in this, like how they're going to feel, how their life will be different, all those things. So again, it's really just an invitation and painting the picture of what their life could look like after. It's not bashing them over the head with like, hey, buy this, buy this. It's just, showing how it can improve their life.
Yeah. I think you definitely approach it from a perspective of this thing I have for you is going to help you. And I just want to help you with this thing. And that for me feels so much more natural than the more pushy, like, here are all the bad things that are going to happen to you if you don't buy this product right now.
Yeah. I mean, like I've said before, we want to touch on pain points slightly,
Right.
just touch on them. And to a certain extent, we want, especially when we're trying to drive more urgency, we do want to touch on what will happen if they don't invest. Like as we were chatting before, like what's the cost of doing nothing? What happens if you stay exactly where you are and don't invest in yourself, don't invest in this solution? So there is a bit of that, but again, it's not like, your business is going to crumble. Your life is just going to spiral. It's none of that. Like I can't even write that way. So I don't even, I just can't imagine that. So again, it's really just that invitation. And it's also, again, it's mindset. It's thinking, I'm not taking their money or doing a disservice to them. I'm helping them. I have a solution that can help. If they don't want to buy, that's fine. That's cool. They can, stay on my list for a while longer. I don't mind. They can come back to me after or go to somebody else, but here's the invitation.
It's that idea that even when we're selling, we're here to serve. And yes, sometimes when we serve people, we are taking money for that service. That's how we earn our money. That's how we make a living. And, sometimes that can feel awkward or weird in some ways, but that really is just life. It's the same thing you do if you go to a job working in a retail store somewhere. You're serving customers and you're taking a paycheck for it. This is just part of life.
Yeah, it's just a natural transaction. And, the whole pricing discussion, that's a whole other discussion of, all the mindset gremlins that come in with that. But again, yeah, it's helping people and doing that natural transaction.
Let's talk a little bit about kind of the rest of those emails where we are trying to balance providing some value and teaching people some things so that they will trust us with that sales part. I know you mentioned that earlier in the sequence, before those last couple of actual sales emails that we're sending, we should still be mentioning our offers. Can you talk about how we can do that? Balancing, that mentioning of the offer with providing some value and just really keeping it feeling very conversational and not like you're throwing a sales pitch in at the end of an email.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually going to say a super easy way to do this is in the PS. So it literally is at the bottom of the email. So you could have a story or, value added email. And then at the end, you could say something like, if this resonates with you or if this hits home, and then briefly introduce your offer and direct people to your website or, to book a call with you. So you could have it really subtle like that, kind of like a, hey, by the way, if you're interested in this, you might also be interested in this. So again, it's not taking over the whole email. It's just kind of like, hey, thought you might like this, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And that feels so easy to do, especially if you can tie it in directly to what you talked about in the email. I think it's so important that we pick those pain points to talk about and the things that we're going to teach to make sure that they tie into that thing we want to sell at the end of this email sequence or to tie directly into that freebie that they opted in for because they've already told us that that's one of their pain points.
Yeah, for sure. There should be a nice segue and a smooth transition and a tie in between them all. Another thing you can do if you're really like, I'm really struggling to sell, but I want there to be a sales mention is you could have just kind of like a footer in all of your emails where it says something like, if and when you're ready, here's how you can work with me. And it's got, all the information there. So that's a super easy hands-off way of doing it.
Yeah, I have that. I added that to my email list it's probably close to a year ago now. And I will tell you, every single week I get clicks down there. Is it hundreds? Am I making tons of sales off of that all the time? No. But every week I get clicks down in that little box, either over to my website to learn about services or over to the podcast page or somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think it's really low pressure for people and they can do all the kind of digging around they want without feeling like, oh, this is hitting me over the head with a sale.
Yeah. And I think mine says, when you're ready, I can help you with. And there's like 3 main things I do in my other business, in my teaching resource business. The 3 kind of main topics I create resources for. So that just gets people, even if they don't click, it makes them aware that I'm here to help you with these things.
Yes, absolutely. So it's kind of like a choose your own adventure. And then, like you said, they're more aware, like, oh, I didn't know she also offers this. That's good to know. Even if I don't need that service, I can refer her. So yeah, it's just, so helpful all around.
Or somewhere down the road when they do need that thing, they go, oh yeah, that's always in the bottom of Kristen's emails.
Yeah.
And then they know where to find it because it's always there.
Yep.
I really love that strategy. It's worked really well for me. Let's talk a little bit about closing the sale. So in those last couple of emails, we do have to write some good calls to action. And sometimes those are a little tricky in terms of writing a call to action that creates that sense of urgency, but doesn't feel super pushy. Can you give us some tips specifically for that part of the email?
Yeah, I would just make your call to actions really clear because, it might be super obvious to us, well, what we want people to do, but to them, they might be like, what's the next step? So just making that language really clear throughout your emails. And to that point, you can have more than one link in each email for your call to action. You don't have to write a full email. And then at the very bottom, there's that link, the call to action. You could have that same call to action throughout your email so that at different touch points as they're reading, they can click over to what you want them to do. But yeah, they always say clear works better than clever. So making that language really clear, although I do love a good, fun conversational link. So, honestly, you could do like super clear up front. Like the first link is like, visit my site or buy now, whatever it is. But then maybe the next one has more conversational language and it's going to link to the same thing, but you're just varying it up a bit.
Yeah, I think that's so smart too, because some people are more drawn to that direct buy it now for $27 kind of language, where other people are more drawn to like, yes, this is what I need kind of language.
Yeah, more fun. Like, heck yeah, I want this in my life or I need this in my life or, bring on the whatever the benefit is. Like, yeah, you just have to, part of that is also knowing your audience, knowing what resonates most with them. But yeah, clear always wins. So start with that. But then, again, inject some of that personality.
And really figuring out what's going to resonate with your audience is just a case of trial and error. It is not something any of us get right the first time. So I would just encourage everybody to try and see what happens and check your click rates. See which ones are getting the most clicks versus the ones that people maybe are ignoring. And some of that has to do with placement. Maybe your people like the link at the top of the email better than the one at the bottom, or maybe it's the language you're using.
Yeah, that experimentation is so key. And I would even say between having the call to action as a link, so it's just the word underline, they can click on it, or you have cases where it's an actual graphic button. So you can experiment between the two. So the link works well when it's kind of embedded within a paragraph, but then the button might be nice when it's just standalone, nice and visual. People can click on it and, you see that graphic and that's something I need to click. So again, just kind of experimenting between the two.
Yeah. It's so funny how we're just sort of trained when we see a button, we're supposed to click it.
Trained or brainwashed, whatever it is.
Brainwashed.
Yeah.
Could go either way.
And along that line too, just the whole topic of experimentation and just, trial and error. One thing about this email sequence too is once you have it written, once you have it dropped into your email platform, it doesn't mean it's set in stone. Like it's not like this is the sequence I'm going to have forever. You can go in and tweak your copy and make changes. So don't feel like I need this to be 100% perfect before I launch it out into the world. Like get it out there. Do your best, of course, get it out there, but hey, I change my copy all the time. So, don't let that stop you.
One thing I love to do, and actually you and I were just talking about this for something I have coming up soon, I like to go back and look at emails I have sent in the past and see, okay, which one of these got the best open rate? Which one got the best click rate? Let me tweak what I have and use that data to make this next set of emails even better. So once you've created a sequence and you've gotten some people in, going in and looking at that data can give you some really good information as far as how to change things up, how to get more opens, more clicks, whatever it is that you're looking for in that particular email.
Yeah, that's some really good intel there. You might find that your readers like, straight to the point, just get to it, or they might like more story-based emails. Like digging into those numbers will really help you. It's something I should do more, myself. We have a friend who's always like, check your numbers, which I never do. So
Yeah.
Guilty as charged with that one.
I don't do it as often as I feel like I probably should, but at key times, I do go back and check my numbers. And it really does help a lot. And just to hit on something you kind of mentioned briefly, some people like those longer, more story-based emails. Some people like really short emails. Chances are you have both on your list. So it's so important to just vary what you're sending on a regular basis, whether it's those weekly emails or it's in a sequence, just mixing up what you're sending so that hopefully things are resonating with everybody that's on your list at some point.
Yeah, great point. And, it's always nice to surprise and delight your audience. So if they are used to the more, the longer, more story-based emails, and then all of a sudden you send an email that's like 2 sentences, that's really going to catch their eye. So yeah, having varying lengths, varying styles, varying themes, it just keeps things fresh.
Yeah. Every now and then I like to send an email that's like, hey, real quick, just wanted to make sure you saw this. Okay, have a great week. And like, that's it.
And then it's like,
I just send them a link to something free, something exciting, whatever it is. And because I don't do that very often, it actually works really well.
Yeah, I think it's so powerful because people are so busy and, their inboxes are just slammed. So something like that really quick. Again, you're not overusing that, that tactic, because if you do it all the time, it's just going to lose its value. But to every once in a while, sprinkling those teensy tiny emails is really powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. And not in a clickbait way either. I wouldn't actually say, hey, here's this thing, click on it without telling them what it is. It would be something more like, hey, just wanted to make sure you saw this new podcast episode all about writing welcome sequence emails.
For sure.
And then just send them over. So they know where they're going.
Yes.
Speaking of all of these emails we're going to be sending, one question a lot of people ask is, what do I do with people when they finish that first sequence? Where do they go now?
Great question. You definitely don't want to just like stop and run, like just stop there. You want to maintain that relationship. You want to keep it going, keep the good vibes going. So after that, you're probably going to slow down the pace because your welcome sequence, those emails are pretty close together, within 1 or 2 days of each other. So it is, a pretty fast pace of a few emails. After that, you're going to slow things down. You're going to drop those people into, your main email list. And then they're going to start getting regular newsletters from you. This could be once a week, once every 2 weeks, whatever cadence you think works best for you and your schedule. It's better to be consistent than to just be like, okay, I'm going to email you all the time, twice a week. And then it's like, it lasts for a couple of weeks and then they don't hear from you. Then you ghost them for 6 months. Like, you don't want to do that. But yeah, once a week is great. Whatever you can fit into your schedule, but just have it consistent. They're going to receive those regular nurture emails from you going forward.
Yeah. And for most people, once a week is plenty to keep them top of mind, or to keep you top of mind so they don't forget about you and they'll recognize you in their inbox and keep opening those emails. But it's not so much that it overwhelms them and they feel like, okay, she's emailing me constantly.
Yeah, backup lady. Like I've seen enough. I've seen enough. Yeah. And again, you're going to vary your themes too. So maybe 1 week you send like an FAQs email. 1 week you send a slice of life email. The next one is a sales email. Like you're going to vary those emails. So it's not always the same thing all the time.
And even if you have content that you're putting out weekly, like I have podcast episodes that come out weekly and I need to email about those. At first, I got into a rut of every email was just talking about the new podcast episode. Here's the link. Go listen to it. And maybe when the podcast first started, I did kind of need to do some of that to get people kind of trained to head over to the podcast once a week when a new episode was out. But I've learned over having it longer, that gets boring. it gets repetitive, and they just know every week what the email's going to be. And if they already listen to the podcast, they're not even going to open the email. So I've learned that sometimes it's okay if you have that weekly content that you need to mention. It's okay to have a totally different topic for your email. Maybe it's FAQs or whatever. And then have a PS or a little something near the end of your email that says, by the way, this week's podcast episode is this thing. Here you go. Because people sometimes look for that, and it definitely still gets clicks over. But that keeps me from feeling like every single email I am talking about the same thing. It's just talking about the podcast.
Yeah, it becomes too
gives me
predictable.
That flexibility, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. You don't want it to be too predictable. You certainly don't want to bore your readers. Otherwise, they're going to be like, where's that unsubscribe button? Yeah, just keeping it fresh like we talked about before.
Well, as we kind of wrap up our episode today, can you give us maybe one final tip or a simple tweak that people can make to improve their sales emails?
Yeah, I would really just go back to inviting people to work with you in a friendly, casual, relatable way. You're not banging people over the head with your offers. You're just making it nice and friendly. And just in general, for all your emails, for all your copy, really, just making it really conversational. Like, unless you have a really formal brand, you want to inject more of you into it. So making your copy more conversational, like it's written to a friend, a trusted friend. You still want to express trust and expertise, authority, all those things, but writing from one friend to another.
I've heard, and I don't know if you told me this or if it was someone else, but I have heard a tip that you should read it out loud and make sure it feels like something you might actually say to another human.
For sure. Yeah, because when you read it out loud, you'll quickly see, okay, I would never say this. Like, why am I saying this? This sounds corporate. This sounds jargony. You'll find words that you wouldn't say in everyday life. You'll probably see where the parts are too formal that need to be more conversational. Or maybe you have sentences that are just too clunky and you can simplify them. So yeah, reading out loud is a great tip.
Thank you again so much for being here. This has been such a great conversation and always fun to talk about copy with you, whether it's emails or sales pages or anything else. Can you tell everyone where they can find you? And we'll drop links in the show notes as well.
Yeah, thank you. My website is a great place to go to. It's my first and last name, NicoleKepic.com. And then on Instagram, that's where I hang out for my business. It's NK Copywriting.
And Nicole has some great freebies that we will drop in the show notes as well. Some email templates and I believe a sales page template.
Sales page tips video, 5 must-haves for a high converting sales page. And honestly, these tips can be used for any type of copy you write. It doesn't just have to be for a sales page.
Thank you so much for sharing those with us and for sharing all of your tips today. This has been such a great conversation.
Thank you so much, Kristen. I loved it.
That was such a great conversation with Nicole Kepic. I hope you are walking away from this episode with practical tips on how to write sales emails that feel genuine and authentic and not at all sleazy. If you want to grab Nicole's free templates and her sales page tips, check out the links in the show notes. And remember, selling does not have to feel awkward. Like Nicole said, it is all about inviting your readers to take the next step and showing how you can serve them through your offers. Thanks for tuning in, friend. If you loved today's episode and want more where that came from, check out my everything page. It's your one-stop shop for all things savvy selling. From free resources and templates to full courses and coaching, you'll find everything I offer to help your business shine in one handy place. You can also get all the details about my web design and WordPress maintenance services to keep your website as polished and savvy as your products. Just head over to kristendoyle.co/everything, or you can find the link in this episode's show notes. See you in the next episode of The Savvy Seller.